Jeremy Harrell, Jeremy is the Chief Strategy Officer at ClearPath Action. And Jeremy, welcome you today, and you are recognized to give us your testimony. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, looks good. Good morning, Chairman Carper, Ranking Member Capito, and members of the committee. My name is Jeremy Harrell, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer at ClearPath Action. We advance policies to accelerate breakthrough innovations that reduce emissions in the energy and industrial sectors. Additionally, I represent the U.S. Nuclear Industry Council as the chairman of its board. Clean energy and climate is regularly top of mind here in Washington, as well for many of your constituents. While there's no silver bullet that will solve the urgent climate challenge, accelerating the global deployment of American advanced nuclear reactors will significantly reduce emissions and meet growing energy needs. The International Energy Agency projects nuclear generation needs to double by 2050 to meet net zero emission goals. Dozens of American entrepreneurs developing advanced nuclear technologies are racing towards that cause, and the Bipartisan American Nuclear Infrastructure Act could help unlock their deployment at scale. I want to underscore 3 key points in my testimony today. First, advanced nuclear is here now. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission could receive roughly 10 new license applications before 2025, all looking to build advanced reactors over the next decade. Today's NRC is not equipped to effectively conduct those reviews. Second, the world's clean energy future requires nuclear energy, as illustrated by the IEA's projections. The only real question is, will it be American nuclear or will it be Chinese or Russian? And finally, the American Nuclear Infrastructure Act is the natural next step in a series of big legislative wins spearheaded by leaders at this very committee. ANIA can ensure that advanced nuclear meets its potential, contributing immensely to global security, economic growth, and emissions reductions. We're truly at an exciting time for the American nuclear industry. Nuclear power has reemerged as a smart, reliable power source and an integral part of global emission reduction efforts. A flurry of next-generation nuclear reactor companies, including Oklo, X-Energy, TerraPower, GE, Kairos, and NuScale, are all on the cusp of building reactors in the next decade. These technologies provide clean, reliable power and create jobs in local communities, but also offer additional benefits relative to traditional reactors. Advanced reactors are smaller, which allow them to be sited in new locations, can operate flexibly to complement renewable energy, are walk-away safe, and can decarbonize industries beyond the power sector with their high-temperature steam and heat. In other words, these technologies are a new breed of reactor, much different than the fleet the NRC has regulated for nearly 50 years, and many of the NRC's existing requirements are not relevant to these new designs. 2 Congresses ago, this committee wisely enacted the Nuclear Energy Innovation and Modernization Act, otherwise known as NEMA, directing the NRC to prepare for the licensing of advanced reactors. Advanced reactor companies are ready now, but the NRC is not. Oklo, for example, the first advanced reactor company to submit a license application to the NRC, recently had its application rejected. NuScale, the first small modular reactor, took 5 years and $500 million to get its design certification. There will always be hiccups for first movers, but that cannot become the norm for the review of new technologies. The NRC must modernize its processes to unlock the potential of these companies rather than add layers of unnecessary and overly burdensome regulations. Licensing is a necessary step between the development of new designs and commercialization. And if America is not proactive, the U.S. could fail to meet its own clean energy pledges while also losing ground to China and Russia on technological innovation. Which leads me to my next point on the global picture. Climate change is an urgent global challenge that merits significant action at every level of government and the private sector. While the U.S. and few others have reversed emissions trajectories, much of the rest of the world is growing their emissions as they grow their populations, their industries, and their quality of life. We need an American, innovation-focused approach to solve the global climate challenge. As I mentioned earlier, nuclear generation will need to at least double globally by 2050 to meet carbon neutrality goals, meaning new nuclear capacity additions, in addition to what we already have operating, need to reach 30 gigawatts per year by the early 2030s. That's the annual equivalent of enough electricity for 20 million households. That's daunting, but it's also a huge opportunity. Nearly 50 countries are projected to have markets for advanced nuclear before 2050, a more than $360 billion annual market opportunity for the American supply chain. And make no mistake about it, if the U.S. does not seize that opportunity, China and Russia will. So how does the U.S. seize this moment? Thankfully, Congress has recognized the importance of nuclear energy. Significant bipartisan legislation has been passed, providing both robust support for the existing civilian fleet and for the R&D of nascent nuclear technologies. Now, Congress must provide the direction needed to ensure there's a clear path for the next generation to be licensed, cited, and permitted. The American Nuclear Infrastructure Act contains several provisions in this very vein. These policies include prizes to offset initial licensing costs for first movers, continued regulatory modernization, preemptive environmental review of key federal facilities, and broader international collaboration and investments. In addition to these important provisions, there are other areas the bill could be improved. The committee should look to expand the modernization efforts in NEMA, provide additional financial flexibility to grow the workforce of the future, catalyze a next generation of American nuclear fuels, and further streamline permitting at brownfield sites, like former power plants. ClearPath Action looks forward to offering our support to this effort. Thank you for the opportunity today, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Mr. Harrell, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your testimony.